There are moments in history when heaven reaches down and ignites a single soul with purpose. Such was the birth of Dominic of Caleruega, a man of vision, fire, and truth. His mother dreamt of a dog with a torch in its mouth, running across the world. That child would carry the light of the gospel into places darkened by doubt and heresy. Dominic would grow not into comfort or fame, but into a servant of the word, walking dusty roads with nothing but scripture in his heart and compassion in his hands. He was not a monk who hid behind cloisters, but a preacher who stepped into the world's confusion with clarity and courage. With poverty as his mantle and truth as his sword, he faced falsehood not with hatred, but with love. He would found a brotherhood unlike any before, the order of preachers, and leave behind not riches or monuments, but a legacy that would burn through centuries. This is the story of Saint Dominic, a life shaped by vision, trials, miracles, and unwavering faith. A voice that still calls us to speak what is true and live what we preach. Chapter 1. The Child of Caleruega. In the quiet hills of Castile, in the village of Caleruega, a child was born beneath a sky heavy with promise. Before his birth, his mother dreamt of a dog carrying a flaming torch in its mouth, racing across the world. It was a sign that this child would set the earth ablaze with the fire of truth. His name was Dominic. From an early age, Dominic showed a depth beyond his years. He listened more than he spoke, and when he did speak, his words carried quiet strength. Sent to study in Palencia, he devoted himself to theology, but when famine struck, he sold his precious books to feed the poor. "Would you have me study from dead skins while living men die of hunger?" he asked. His charity was not a moment, it was a way of life. He joined the canons regular at Osma, embracing discipline, study, and prayer. There, under Bishop Diego, his mission began to take form. On a journey through southern France, Dominic encountered the growing heresy of the Cathars, a movement that rejected the material world and denied the sacraments. He did not respond with condemnation, but with compassion. He listened, debated, and wept. Where others brought threats, he brought the gospel. Where others rode in comfort, he walked barefoot, preaching in fields and taverns, speaking plainly and living humbly. People began to listen. In those early days, no one yet saw the full vision, but a fire had been lit, and in the heart of the young priest from Caleruega, it would not be extinguished. Chapter 2. The Flames of Heresy. In the hills of Languedoc, heresy had taken root. The Cathars, calling themselves the Pure Ones, preached a twisted faith, rejecting the Church, the sacraments, even the incarnation of Christ. Their words spread like wildfire through a weary land. Dominic saw the danger, but also the hunger beneath it, a longing for purity misled by despair. With Bishop Diego, he traveled through the region, witnessing firsthand how wealth and pride had weakened the Church's voice. The people would not be moved by grandeur. They needed the gospel in its purest form, lived and spoken with humility. Dominic chose to walk barefoot, to beg for food, and to live like the apostles. He debated heretics not with anger, but with clarity and mercy. His nights were spent in prayer, his days in dialogue. In public debates, he spoke with such conviction that hearts began to turn. In one village, when asked to prove the truth of his words, he threw his writings into a fire. While others turned to ash, his parchment rose untouched. But the real miracle was not in the flames. It was in the fire of Dominic's compassion. He founded a house for women leaving the Cathar movement, giving them safety and a path of faith. Slowly, others joined him, men who shared his vision, to preach, to serve, and to confront falsehood with truth. The region remained troubled. Crusades were called, swords were drawn. But Dominic would not become a warrior of steel. His weapon was the word. His strength was love. And the fire he carried began to spread, not to destroy, but to illuminate. Chapter 3. The Order is Born. Dominic's mission grew beyond the borders of villages and forests. He dreamed of a brotherhood, men dedicated not to power or wealth, but to preaching the gospel in truth and humility. With the blessing of Pope Honorius III, the order of preachers was born. The first friars were simple men, willing to walk the roads, living in poverty and teaching wherever they went. They studied Scripture deeply, but carried no riches. Their strength was in their words, their lives, and their prayers. Dominic traveled tirelessly, founding houses across Europe, in France, Italy, and Spain. He gathered scholars and sinners, kings and peasants, all united by one cause, to bring light where darkness reigned. He believed in education as a weapon against ignorance and heresy. The Dominicans became scholars and teachers, speaking in universities and preaching in marketplaces. They learned to debate with respect and to listen with open hearts. Yet Dominic never sought glory. He lived among his brothers, sharing their hardships and joys. When illness struck, he prayed and served with humility. When discouragement threatened, he encouraged his friars to trust in God's plan. The order was not just an institution. It was a movement, a living flame spreading through a world hungry for truth and hope. Chapter 4. Signs from Heaven. Dominic's life was marked by miracles that deepened the faith of those around him. It was said that when he preached, even the hardest hearts softened. Many who heard him were healed, not only in body, but in soul. One story tells of a blind man restored to sight after Dominic's prayer. Another speaks of a storm suddenly calming when the friar raised his hands in desperation. These signs were not mere wonders. They were confirmations of a mission guided by divine light. But Dominic's greatest miracle was the birth of the Rosary. It is said that the Virgin Mary herself appeared to him, offering a weapon against darkness, a prayer to guide the faithful in meditating on the life of Christ. The Rosary became a powerful tool, uniting countless believers in hope and devotion. Through these gifts, Dominic showed that faith was not blind obedience, but a living encounter, a journey filled with grace and power. His miracles inspired his brothers and the faithful to persevere amid trials. The world was dangerous, and false teachings were strong, but Dominic's flame burned brighter with every challenge. His courage and faith became a beacon, a call to all who sought truth and light. Chapter 5. The Crown of the Preacher. After years of tireless work, Dominic's body grew weak, but his spirit remained unbroken. In Bologna, surrounded by his brothers, he prepared to meet his Creator. Humble to the end, he asked to be laid upon the bare earth, poor as he had lived. His final words were a call to love and humility. Have charity for one another. Guard humility. Make your treasure the love of souls. Dominic passed into eternity, but his mission did not end. Miracles followed his death. The sick were healed, the hopeless found hope, and his tomb became a place of pilgrimage. The Church recognized his holiness, declaring him a saint. But Dominic's true crown was the living order he founded, a brotherhood of preachers who spread his fire across Europe. From humble beginnings, the order grew into a force for truth and love, shaping the Church and the world. Men like Saint Thomas Aquinas walked in his footsteps, carrying the torch of knowledge and faith. Dominic's legacy is not a monument, but a living flame, a voice that still calls us to speak truth with love and live the gospel with courage. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the life of Saint Dominic of Guzmán. His story of faith, courage, and unwavering love continues to inspire us all. May his example ignite your own path with light and purpose. We appreciate you listening and invite you to follow our channel for more stories of heroes who shaped history with their faith and passion. Until next time, keep the fire of truth burning bright.